And welcome to Legal Matters, an informational and news call-in show devoted to legal topics of interest to State Line viewers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and with me is attorney Michael Crosby with the Crosby Law Firm. Attorneys are standing by right now to take your call, and the number on your screen, 815-397-2006. They'll provide you with free information on your issue. The call is confidential, so pick up the phone now and call the Crosby Law Firm throughout the next hour. Again, the phone number is 815-397-2006. Now, in our opening statement today, we're discussing divorce issues. In the second segment, we'll continue our popular You Want to Know question and answer session, devoted to questions posed by you, the viewer, by way of telephone calls and social media. Again, the number is 815-397-2006. Lawyers are standing by right now to take your confidential call. Before we get started, please note that the Crosby Law Firm represents thousands of individuals just like you in many areas. Just as our local hospitals handle a multitude of healthcare issues, the Crosby Law Firm can help you with a multitude of legal care issues. So please pick up the phone and call 815-397-2006. Now, the Crosby Law Firm has a Center for Divorce and Family Law, an injury department which includes but isn't limited to auto and motorcycle accidents, as well as a slip and fall, medical malpractice, workers' compensation, and Social Security disability matters. There's also a Bankruptcy Institute, an office for DUI, traffic, and criminal defense, an advanced care plan and probate center, and a division for real estate, business matters of any size, and much more. So again, feel free to call and discuss any of these practice areas with the attorneys standing by. That number, 815-397-2006. Lawyers are standing by right now to take your call, which is free and confidential. So Michael, welcome to the show. And we
thank you, Alan. Glad to be here.
Understand there are some big news, some big things we want to share with everyone.
Well, with the Legal Matters show, the producers for some time now of the show have been encouraging us to move the show to Monday night at 6:30 as a preceding Monday Night Football and a day after the 60-minute show on WIFR. So starting with the September show, I would encourage the viewers to tune in to Monday night, 6:30. That way, when we get calls that come in, we're going to be able to see most of the clients on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday following the Monday show. Give everybody ample time to call in, schedule their appointments, which again are free. So we look forward to helping the folks and attending to them in a very timely fashion, and to moving to Monday night, 6:30, right before Monday Night Football and the day after 60 Minutes.
Okay, well, sounds like a great move. I'm sure it'll be very successful.
Looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's move on. As everyone knows, we're dealing with divorce in relationships as a whole, family relationships, romantic relationships. They can be difficult. They can be very fulfilling. But in terms of marriages, sometimes that can be uncomfortable, as a word.
No question.
No question. And divorce is often on the horizon for, statistically, about half of them.
That's a fair statement and a fair estimate. I'll tell my children and my wife from time to time that so long as there's people on planet Earth, there's going to be relationships. And so long as there's people in relationships, there's going to be the need for an attorney, because relationships can struggle, whether they be marriages, parental relationships with their children, friendships, business relationships, etc. So one of the things that our law firm brings to the table, we try to, in a collaborative way, help people that are struggling with a relationship, whether it be marriage or a business relationship, or sometimes grandparents with grandchildren, so forth and so on. We try to work through those difficulties and hopefully bring positive resolution. So relationships are a struggle, particularly marriages, and unfortunately many of them do in fact end in divorce.
And I'm sure you see your fair share of that, unfortunately.
Our law firm, 35 years of doing this, we probably do more divorces in Northern Illinois than just about any other law firm. We do a lot of divorce work. It's a rewarding part of the practice because we do help people problem solve and move on with their life, but it can be a struggle as well. And part of our job is to empathize with those going through the difficult times and try to help them problem solve in a collaborative way if possible.
Okay, and the number to call, just to get information, 397-2006. Lawyers are standing by if you have questions. So when you confer with a client for the first time, what is the first most important issue that you have to deal with, have to clear up?
The very first thing I address, whether I'm meeting with the wife or the husband, and on occasion both, although we only represent one of the two, I'll want to drill down and find out if there's any hope of reconciling the differences between the two spouses and restoring the marriage. Is there any hope of encouraging the folks to see a minister, a pastor, a rabbi, a priest, to see if they can get some counseling, or to go to a marriage counselor? So before we move on and talk about the divorce issues, I want to find out if there's any hope at all in reconciling the marriage. And that does happen. There are occasions when folks will retain us and we really become an instrument for change in the marriage. And we help the folks reconcile their differences, restore their marriage, and that can be a good thing too. So the very first issue I address, any hope of reconciling, has the couple been to a marriage counselor already, so forth and so on.
So just because you see an attorney doesn't automatically mean we're on your way to divorce.
No, there can be a separation as well as a divorce, as an example.
Okay, but if there's no reconciliation, what's the next step?
Well, as the screen will show, we've put together a graph where we set out the 4 or 5 major issues that most individuals have to address in a divorce situation. Children issues concerning custody, child support and visitation. Property issues, how to go about equitably in a fair way dividing up property that's been acquired during the marriage. Perhaps alimony or maintenance may be an issue. What we call the interim issues, how to address from the start of the divorce to the end of the divorce, what's going to happen in the interim while the divorce is pending. What steps can we take to make that interim as smooth as possible? And then, of course, one of the issues that always has to be addressed is the attorney's fees, the expenses, the financial expenses of a divorce, as well as the emotional expenses of a divorce. So as the screen indicates and the graph that we put up, those are the 4 or 5 major issues that we try to address in all of our divorce work.
Okay, and that's the best place to start, and by doing that is to call 815-397-2006 and talk to Michael and get the information you need to make this very important step in any relationship, for sure.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned for our rapid fire You Want to Know question and answer segment coming up after the break. And welcome back, everyone. In our previous segment, we were talking about divorce, and there's one more issue that we'd like to talk about. Under Illinois law, there has to be a reason for divorce and grounds for that. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. It is standard procedure in our state. In the divorce pleadings, we must allege the reason or the grounds for the divorce. Examples, irreconcilable differences, extreme and repeated mental cruelty, physical cruelty, a host of others. It's always a struggle because if we list extreme and repeated mental cruelty, that can inflame the situation, as can physical cruelty. So where at all possible, we try to rely on irreconcilable differences, which is the least offensive sounding. Another note that's important here, when we allege physical cruelty, typically there's been some domestic abuse in a relationship. Domestic abuse can be a very serious issue, not only in our community, but throughout the country. So there's a lot of divorce cases that we'll take on where on behalf of one of the two spouses that's been abused, the victim of the abuse, if you will, we'll pursue an order of protection, which is a one-sided order where we're able to go to court called an ex parte proceeding and secure an order of protection against the spouse who's been the abuser. So anybody in our audience out there, if you're going through this issue, it's a struggle enough without there being physical abuse, but if there is physical abuse, please know there are remedies and solutions out there that can be of assistance, so I'd encourage you to give us a call.
Okay, and again, the number 815-397-2006. Okay, Michael, thanks for clearing that up.
You bet.
Now we're going to get into our rapid fire question and answer segment, You Want to Know. And in an effort to protect viewer confidentiality, please understand we only use first names, may alter the location and nature of the question somewhat. But I'd like to remind you, lawyers are standing by to take your call no matter what the topic. Pick up the phone, the number 815-397-2006. So Michael, here we go. The first question comes from Megan in Boone County. She says, over the last several years, I've seen a number of out-of-town law firms self-promoting on local TV stations. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first, I'd say we do have a First Amendment, free speech. So the out-of-town law firms that perhaps have set up a part-time office in Rockford, I'd say to them, welcome to our community. But that said, I think it's prudent for most individuals to retain counsel, retain a law firm that has local roots, lasting strength, truly committed to the community, and a law firm that is well versed and experienced in the practice area that the individual client is inquiring about. As you mentioned at the outset of the show, we're a general practice firm, handle a variety of issues, very similar to a hospital that handles a variety of healthcare issues. So yes, there are out-of-town law firms who advertise on our local stations. They have a right to do that, but I would encourage the viewer out there, where at all possible, retain local counsel, somebody that can truly appreciate your issue and knows the community. That usually is a big leg up on your behalf.
And like a doctor, also get a second opinion, possibly.
No question. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Second question comes from Vince in Gene in Loves Park, rather. If I declare bankruptcy, does that mean I can never get a decent loan again? How important is that?
To the contrary, I would tell Gene out there that once you've gone through a bankruptcy and you've discharged all of your debts, assuming that you're still gainfully employed, a prospective lender, or a bank, if you will look more favorably upon you. You've discharged all of your debts, you've got steady income coming in, you're a better candidate than the fellow that has steady income but has a ton of debt and hasn't discharged the debt. So bankruptcy typically will give you, Gene, a new economic lease on life, and I'd encourage you to give us a call. We'll be happy to walk through the various remedies that are available to you. It may be, Alan, a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, it might be a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. There's a host of options out there.
It doesn't have the negative tone that it used to? Because you used to hear bankruptcy, you think total failure, I mean disaster, but there is some growth, I suppose, in that.
Bankruptcy is federal law, passed by the United States Congress and signed by the President of the United States. We don't have debtor's prison in America, so it's there to help those that have had some bad luck or perhaps made some bad decisions. Currently in our political system, one of the front runners for the Republican nomination for president, Donald Trump, his company, his corporation, has had some struggles from time to time in the past, and he's utilized bankruptcy as a method or a remedy to assist his business operations. Nothing at all is wrong with that. He's a very successful entrepreneur, very successful businessman, and so no, bankruptcy should not have a stigma. It may have 20, 30, 40 years ago. I think in today's climate, folks understand it's there to help.
Okay. Next question. This is from Vince in Winnebago County. My mother recently passed away, leaving a house, a car, a retirement account, some life insurance, but no will. My siblings and I are at a loss as to what to do next. Can you help me?
Our law firm does a ton of advanced care planning, a ton of probate and estate administration work. What Vince is talking about here happens, unfortunately, way too often. The legal term is intestate probate. You're dying without a will. When that happens, there's state law that kind of dictates how your assets of the deceased will be dispersed and what should happen next. So Vince, don't despair. Give us a call. We do a lot of intestate probate in our office. There are things that can be done to help you and your siblings and hopefully make for a smooth transition during a very difficult time.
Okay, a lot of great information today, Michael. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll get more of that coming up later. Don't forget, lawyers are standing by for another half hour after this show airs. The number to call is 815-397-2006. That's all the time we have for Crosby Law Firm. Legal Matters continues with Mark Brenneson from the American Law Firm after we take a break.